Right. So if I actually draw a high frequency response of an amplifier, okay, it looks like this. Okay. So this is the high frequency response of an amplifier. See, now always remember when I'm drawing the high frequency response, my x-axis would be frequency, and my y-axis would be magnitude. Magnitude, it can be in decibels. All right. So when I take a typical frequency response of an amplifier, it will come out like this. All right. So this I will call it as AM. Okay. So AM here means mid-band gain. Mid-band gain. All right. And if this is AM, then if I go 3 dB below that AM, okay, this is 3 dB, then this will actually give me, FH. Okay, FH here is the higher cutoff frequency. Higher cutoff frequency. This will be 0.707. Okay, 3 dB because it is 3 dB, right? So this is a general frequency response of an amplifier, but here we do not consider low frequency losses. If you look at this part, okay, we assume that AM is maintained all the way up to FH. Then after FH, it starts reducing. So here we do not consider low frequency effects, low frequency gain reductions. Okay, and another reason is because see, if I take an IC amplifier, okay, we generally use something called a DC amplifier. DC means direct coupled. Okay, direct coupled amplifiers. Earlier what we have seen at the input stage we had a CC1 capacitor, at the output stage we had a CC2 capacitor. Okay, for a single stage amplifier that is fine. You need to attach a CC1 and a CC2. But when it comes to IC amplifiers, when you are going to fabricate this on a chip, right, you can't use capacitor. Instead, what we do is we use cascading blocks. Okay, we use cascading blocks like this. A2, A3, like this. All right. So this A1 will provide input capacitance to A2. This A3 will provide output capacitance to A2. So this is CC1, this is CC. Okay. So this is actually a direct coupled amplifier. Right. So we use multi-stage amplifiers here. All right. Those amplifiers will start behaving as will provide, in fact, will provide capacitance, input capacitance and output capacitance. Right. Now, as you keep on increasing the frequency, okay, you keep on increasing the frequency. The gain here reduces because of internal capacitance. Internal capacitances. Okay, so if you this you have already learned in your CMOS reverse diagram, right? The internal capacitances of a MOS. Okay, you have a capacitance between gate and source. Okay, between gate and body, between gate and drain, between source and body, between drain and body. Okay, so these are some of the internal capacitances which come into picture, especially at high frequencies. At high frequencies, what happens is these internal capacitances, they no longer act as open circuits. They start behaving as somewhat short circuits. Right? So they provide some unnecessary paths for the current to flow. Okay. So there, obviously, you will have some gain reduction. And here we don't consider low frequencies is because we assume that A1, A2, A1 which provides the input capacitance, A3 which provides the output capacitance is sufficiently open circuited, short circuited and for low frequencies. So there you don't have any sort of gain reductions, right? So if you look at this, this is actually a low pass filter. Okay, this is actually a low pass filter. All right. Okay, so after this, then the only thing which I need to find out is FH for any given amplifier. Till what range of frequencies I can use that amplifier. So calculating this FH is the next part. FH is the next part. Right. So we'll see how to calculate it. For that, we need something called a gain function. Okay, so we call it as high frequency gain function. Okay, high frequency gain function. All right, it is given by this expression. A of S is equals to An into Fh of S. Okay. Right, this is the expression. Okay, so A of S here, okay, A of S here actually is the amplifier gain function in terms of a complex variable S. Okay, S here actually means j omega. So in fact, it is a complex function of frequency itself, right? So A of S is actually a complex gain function with respect to frequency. AM here is mid-band gain. Okay. Mid-band gain means if you assume all your capacitances to be short circuited. Okay, I'm not talking about internal capacitances, I'm talking about external capacitances, the coupling capacitances. If I assume them to be perfectly short circuited, whatever gain I calculate of the amplifier, that will give me that is the ideal gain which I get, right? It can't go beyond that gain, right? So AM is the mid-band gain or the maximum gain which I can get, and FH of S is the frequency function. Okay, FH of S is a frequency function. It's actually a transfer function which relates all the internal capacities. Okay, all the internal capacities. Okay, all the internal capacitances actually form which forms a circuit. Okay, so if I take the transfer function of that circuit, that should give me FH of S. Right. So FH of S is actually No, you can write it generally in the form of poles and zeros, right? So if I write it like this, 1 plus s divided by omega z1, 1 plus s divided by omega z2, so on, 1 plus s divided by omega z, say n, divided by, these are the zeros, these are the zeros. Now these are the poles, 1 plus s by omega say p1, 1 plus s divided by omega p2, and so on, 1 plus s divided by omega p3, or p2 pn. Okay, so these are the poles. Okay, so this is a transfer function, and if you can see, if I take limit, okay, limit s tends to 0, fh of s, okay, this will actually give me 1. Okay, so as s tends to 0, okay, fh of s will give me actually 1, right? Then in that case, a of s will be simply a. Okay. Right. So this is some maths part which we need. Okay, so zeros. See, if I have any complex circuit like this, then with this is my input. This is input. Let's C1, R, C2. Then I have another capacitor like this, C3. And if I measure my output here, okay, output here. Obviously, it will this circuit will have some poles and zeros, right? So generally, I have written it like this. Okay, I'm assuming this transfer function fh of s has n zeros and n poles. So I've written it in a general form. Okay, so if you how you get this expression? This expression you get by modeling all the internal capacitances of the MOSFET. Okay, so generally, I have written it as 1 plus s by omega z1 into 1 plus s by omega z2, so on 1 plus s by omega zn by 1 plus s by omega p1, 1 plus s by omega p2, so on 1 plus s by omega p1. Okay. So they contain all zeros and poles. Okay. So from this, I have to find a way to determine this FH. Okay, I have to find a way to determine this FH. All right. So let us look at how it is done. This this. So determination of FH. Okay. Remember, FH is also called 3 dB frequency. Okay. 3 dB frequency. Correct. Now, generally, when we look at the transfer function FH of S, okay, for any amplifier, we don't take into consideration zeros. Okay, zeros is not considered, or even if it is there, they are very far away that they will not actually affect the transfer function. Okay, so is not considered because they are either at zero, either at infinity, or large enough for not to be considered. Okay, so zeros is not much of a problem for us. The problem is actually poles, right? So the poles which I have, say I've written the poles as omega p1, omega p2, and so on, omega pn. Okay, right, omega pn. Now among this, say if omega p1, okay, omega p1. Now if that is larger, not larger, smaller or lower than other poles. Okay, smaller or lower than other poles. Then we assume, then we take omega p1 as the dominant pole. As the dominant pole. Okay. Why you take it as dominant pole? If you look back to your frequency response, right? This FH has to be, as less as possible. Okay, right? It actually has to move like this. Okay. See, so this is FH, then this is FH1, FH2, FH3. Okay. So you will consider FH to be a dominant pole because that will actually affect your response mode. Right? That will actually affect your response mode. Then in that case, if omega p1 is the lowest frequency among all the other poles, omega p2, omega p3, so on, omega p1, then I will consider omega p1 as my dominant pole, and omega h will be actually close to omega p. This is because the frequency response depends heavily on omega p. Okay, since it depends heavily on omega p1, we can say that the cutoff frequency is close to omega p1. Okay, it's not exactly omega p1, but it will be close to omega p1. Right? Then in that case, I can, right, if omega h is omega p1, then I can write my transfer function fh of s as 1 by 1 plus s by omega p. Okay, s1 by 1 plus s by omega p1. This becomes my new transfer function. Okay, this I've got it from this. I've got it from this. Okay, and if you look at this, this you can straight away tell that this is actually a low pass filter. Okay, see, for a low pass filter, the transfer function will actually look like this. For a low pass filter, it will actually look like say some constant by say s plus b. Okay, for a high pass filter, it will actually look like this. It has a 0. Okay, so T of s will look like say as divided by s plus b. Okay, but here in this case, we are assuming that zeros are at infinite, so they do not come into picture, and I'm taking omega p1 as my dominant pole. Right? There is a rule of thumb you always have to remember. Okay, so let a note here. Note dominant pole exists if the lowest frequency is at least 2 octaves. Okay, at least 2 octaves away from the nearest poles. Away from the nearest poles. Okay, so this is an important point which you have to do. This one. Okay, so dominant pole exists if the lowest frequency is at least 2 octaves. 2 octaves means 1 octave is 10 times the frequency. All right, so it is at least 2 octaves away from the nearest pole. Right, then you consider that pole to be dominant pole. Or else if you don't want to, if you don't have any dominant poles in your system, then in that case, say I have fh of s, which has say 2 zeros and 2 poles. Okay, So I will write it like this: 1 plus s by omega z1, 1 plus s by omega z2, divided by 1 plus s by omega p1, 1 plus s by omega p2. Okay, so this has 2 zeros and 2 poles. Okay, so it has 2 zeros and 2 poles. Right. Now from this, using this expression, I will actually derive omega h. Okay, so how to do that? Right. So first, take the magnitude. Okay, magnitude of fh of s. So mod of fh of s equals to, this becomes square root of 1 plus omega by omega z1 square into square root of 1 plus omega square divided by omega z2 square divided by square root of 1 plus omega square by omega p1 square, 1 plus omega square divided by omega p2 square. Okay, this is the magnitude part. All right. If I take the square on both sides, okay, squared magnitude. So I will write fh of s whole square is 1 plus omega square by omega z1 square one plus omega square by omega z1 z2 square divided by 1 plus omega square divided by omega p1 square, 1 plus omega square divided by omega p2 square. So this is I've just taken the magnitude, squared magnitude of fh of s. Now, one point you have to remember is that when omega here is omega h, okay, what happens to fh of s? Okay, what happens to fh of s? Right. For that, go back to this, gain function. A of s is equal to am into fh of s. All right. So if I take magnitude of all, so magnitude of a of s is equal to am into magnitude of fh of s. All right. So at omega is equal to omega h. Okay. You can see that this is the 3 dB frequency, right? So at 3 dB frequency, if you look at the response, okay, at 3 dB frequency, amplitude was 0.707 AM, right? So if I write this here, so 0.707 AM is equal to AM into fh of s, right? So fh of s equals to 0.70. Okay, 0.707 is actually 1 by root 2. So fh of s whole square will actually give half. All right. So here, this will give me fh of s whole square. Okay. It is actually half. Remember, understood this? So at omega equal to omega h, fh of s is actually squared magnitude of fh of s is actually half. So substitute this above, you will get half equals to 1 plus omega square by omega z1 square 1 plus omega square divided by omega z2 square divided by 1 plus omega square divided by omega p1 square 1 plus omega square divided by omega p2 square. Right. So further solve this. From this equation, I have to find what is omega. Right. So multiply the brackets, take some common terms. You should get half is equals to 1 plus say omega h square into 1 by omega z1 square plus 1 by omega z2 square plus 4 times power 4 omega h power 4 divided by omega z1 square omega z2 square divided by the same thing in the bottom. So omega h square 1 by omega p1 square 1 by omega p2 square omega h power 4 omega p1 square omega p2 square. Okay, little bit of maths here. Right. So from this you find out omega h. Right. And if you look at, see, omega h is already a small value. Okay, we assume omega h to be a small value. Okay, small value means remember omega h will be very close when compared to look at this response. This is omega h, right? Okay, so omega h when compared to other frequencies is actually the lowest one. Then in that case, omega h square is fine, but omega h power 4 is actually neglected. Okay, it's actually neglected because it's a smaller value. Right? Then you have 1 plus omega h square into 1 by omega p1 square cross multiply plus 1 by omega p2 square is equal to twice of 1 plus omega h square 1 by omega z1 square plus 1 by omega z2 square. Right? So from this you can write omega h as 1 by square root of 1 by omega p1 square plus 1 by omega p2 square minus 2 times omega 1 plus 1 divided by omega z1 square plus 1 by omega z2 square. Yeah. So this is the expression you get for omega h. This is having 2 zeros and 2 poles. Okay. But for for n number of poles and n number of zeros, so generalizing, I can write omega h as 1 divided by square root of 1 divided by omega p1 square 1 by omega p2 square plus so on 1 divided by omega pn square minus 2 into 1 by omega z1 square omega z2 square plus 1 divided by omega zn square. Okay. So this is a more general version of the instead of having just 2 poles and 2 zeros, you will have n poles and n zeros. So this has n poles and n zeros. Right. So from this, say if I from this expression, if I make omega p1 to be dominant, then in that case omega h will be simply omega p1. All right, you can check. Make all the other poles and zeros 0 except for omega p1. All right, then in that case this is gone, this is gone, all of this is gone. Then omega h will be simply omega p1. Right, this is what you can observe. All right. Then in that case, we'll stop. We'll stop for today's class. You enter your name and user number in your chat box. Okay. If you have any queries, do let me know. Okay, I'll take up the high frequency response in the next class. Of common source, common drain.